Hi, folks. I'm glad to be with you today. I'm Scott Turansky from the National Center for Biblical Parenting. And at our organization, we're looking for ways to build character in children, help them understand, parents understand biblical truths and the ways they work with children. And today I want to spend some time zeroing in specifically on mornings. Morning times can be a place where tension exists as we're trying to get ready for the day or get out the door. And it is also an opportunity for us to build character in our children. So I want to show you what that looks like. Inside of every person, God has placed a conscience. The word conscience is used 30 times in the New Testament. The conscience does a number of things, but one of the things the conscience does is it prompts us to do something, to do the right thing. And so if I forget to do something, my conscience might remind me, I need to do that. The words "I need to" are important words there because the conscience is reminding me that I need to do something. Now, that need to or that obligation is weak in many children. So the conscience is really something that's provided by God to help children and adults and all of us to do the right thing, to stay on track, to keep our activities going in the right direction, to keep our heart doing what's right. However, there are times when parents don't really encourage the conscience. They become the conscience for their kids. Morning routines is one of those times when conscience could be greatly enhanced by the way that we parent. So if we parent in a way that's helping kids with morning routines instead of being their conscience for them, then we can do more. So let me explain to you what I mean by that. When parents are being the conscience for their children, what that means is that they are tending to be the ones directing the traffic and telling kids exactly what to do. So a child gets up in the morning and he starts playing on the iPad, and you say, you need to go in there and make your bed. So he goes in and makes his bed, and he goes back on the iPad. So the parent's saying, you need to go in there and get dressed. And so the child gets dressed and goes back and works on the iPad. Then we need to go in and do our bathroom things. And so the parent's directing the traffic all through the morning. You got to be asking yourself this question. Why do we have to do this every day? Why does mom have to keep telling child to get ready in the morning when we do the same thing every day? The answer here is very important. What we're trying to do is help children develop their own conscience, be internally motivated to do what's right, but unfortunately parents sometimes get in the way because they become the conscience for their children. They become the person who is directing the traffic. We want kids to be able to do that. But you can't just walk away and say, you take care of it. The conscience needs training. So that training is going to require some cues, usually of some kind, and that just think about yourself. What cues do you have to remind you to get things done? You use, I'm sure, lists. You use the clock. Let's use those two things. There are other things indicators that we have. The gas gauge on your car gets to a certain level and you feel uncomfortable. I need to get gas. But what we're trying to do is move this into a direction where kids can be internally motivated and feel the sense of obligation to manage themselves in the mornings. From the time their feet hit the floor to the time they get out the door or get ready for their schooling at home, if they're doing that, how are we going to do that? We can apply the same truth to preschoolers. Interestingly enough, preschoolers can learn this, and we can apply it to teenagers and anywhere in between. All children can learn conscience training and can start developing their ability to manage themselves. So let's go through, even a child with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder that needs to be kind of overseen a lot. This could be part of their therapy to manage themselves, to stay on task, to be focused. Great solutions here are built into morning routines. Let me show you what I would suggest first of all. Sit down with your child. Let's say your child's 6 years old and over. And I would say, I want you to write down all the things you need to do from the time your feet hit the floor in the morning till the time you go out the door. This becomes your list. It'd be best if the child write the list, not the parents. Sometimes parents will tell me, well, I created a list already and it's on the refrigerator. And I feel like saying, well, that's two mistakes. One is you are creating the list, and the other is that you're deciding where to put it. Let's let the child decide where to put it. Let's transfer responsibility to the child to make some changes here. So first thing, child create the list. But then parents going to have to go over that list to make sure things like brushing teeth and are on the list. If they're not, then we're going to make sure they are. So now the child has their list. The list itself may be all that children need in the morning. So that you can say to a child, check your list. Do you see what you're doing at this point? You're referring a child to something other than yourself as the cue. If you're the cue for your child to get anything done, then you're being the conscience for your child and missing on an opportunity for conscience development. So what you want to do instead is you want to say to a child, we got the list, check your list. Now, let's take the child who has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, who easily gets distracted when we're in a challenge. So Becky says, hey, we have this problem with our 13-year-old, she says, and who has ADD, and we're struggling every morning. Let me show you, Becky, how you can use this. If a child has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, that's a brain issue. It's a challenge in the brain that gets them sidetracked because the brain is not, the neurons, the electrical chemical transmissions are not functioning fluidly, and so thinking is hard. I would suspect that your 13-year-old has a hard time with anything he doesn't want to do because it requires thinking to stay on task. If he likes it, if he likes whatever he's doing, like a video game or watching a movie, he can be focused for a long period of time. Why? It's because of the heart, you see. Desires inside of the heart are keeping him on track. He's getting something that he wants, and it's working, and so he's staying on track. Now, if he's distracted, though, when his thinking isn't going well, he's got this ADD kind of issue, he's getting off track, then it's in those moments that he needs heart training, because he can build obligation, and that obligation will help him to be able to focus. It'll help him when his brain doesn't want to think. He'll learn how to work hard, persevere, take initiative, be thorough. All of those things are the qualities, the heart qualities that our child needs who has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So I know I got a little distracted there, but let's go back to mornings, because mornings then become this opportunity for training. So we say to a 13-year-old, for example, we might say, son, you're doing well in a lot of areas. One of the things we're going to do is help you to be able to focus. I know that's one of your challenges sometimes, but I'm going to help you with that, and morning routines are going to help you do that. So some children, you can just say, here's the list, 9 things, get them done, report back to me. And kids, when you give them a list, they're on their own, and great things happen. Other kids, like a child who has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, they need a little more accountability and structure. Keep those 2 words in mind, accountability and structure. So when we help a child with that kind of a challenge and we say, okay, here's what we're going to do. You have a list now because you've created it, and where did you want to put it? Oh, you want to put it on your door, or you want to put it on the side of your door so you see it? Great, that's fine. But here's what I'm going to do in the morning. I'm going to ask you to do one thing and check back with me. One thing on your list. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You already know it's on your list. What we're trying to do is help our children have the cues, like a list, to help them be independent of a parent having to be the list or having to be the conscience. Now the child knows, I'm done with number 1. I need to go back and look at my list. So we've created that. But the child who has a challenge like attention deficit disorder, what we want to do is we want to help that child by giving them more structure and accountability. Do number 1, report back to me so I can check your work. Do number 2, report back to me so I can check your work. And so we're going through a process where the child is learning how to develop that internal uncomfortable feeling. You know that feeling of responsibility? That's obligation. And that can be developed in the morning routine as we're trying to go forward. Preschoolers, I talked about 6 and older, but preschoolers, we can use a chart if we give pictures, and we can do that. But the idea again is, what do you need to do? Stay on what are the things you need to do in the morning as you're getting ready? So it might be start your routine that you say. Now that one cue, that one word, gets the child moving in the right direction. The goal here is to help children be internally motivated, and it takes practice. The blog article we just published on our website about morning routines at thrivingkidsconnection.com contains some of these ideas and more that will help parents know how to work with their children in the morning. And we can dialogue more about that. You make a comment or ask me a question in the blog post, I'll respond, or one of my coaches will respond to it to try to give you more ideas about how to work with your particular child. Now, sometimes creating a list is not enough. right? Maybe the list isn't enough for me sometimes. And that's why I have another cue, and that's the clock. Notice how we're using cues. Instead of parental cues, we're using other kind of cues to help children move forward. This is where internal motivation, independence, responsibility are developed when we help children develop those cues. So keep an eye out for those, the clock. So you might be saying, all right, by 7 o'clock, you need to have these 4 things done and down for breakfast. And then by 7:25, you need to have these other 5 things done so you're ready to go out the door. And those things could be, 9 things if we're going to say them. They could be things like you need to get dressed, put your clothes away, make your bed, do your bathroom things, then get down for breakfast. And then you need to go back and do your hair, brush your teeth. You need to get your backpack at the door, get your things ready, get your shoes on. All of those are the morning things. But I would encourage you to be done at 7:25. You got to go out the door at 7:30 so that this child knows that at 7:25 or at the end of their list, they're doing the blessing thing. How can you bless somebody else? What can you do to help somebody else in the morning besides just deal with yourself? One boy took this on. He's 11 years old, and Mom says, we really worked hard in the morning, and he did great. So what he did was he would get himself ready, put his stuff in the car, and come back at 7:25, and he would say to Mom, hey, what else can I do? Or he'd look for his little brother, how he can help him. It's very important for children to feel that they have an obligation, not just to manage themselves, but to help out and contribute to others. It could be just to do something around the house that's necessary as before we all leave the house. But using this idea of the list and the clock and this building of obligation is what strengthens the heart of a person so that they become independent. You'll know you have a problem in this area if you find yourself nagging in the morning. If you're doing the nagging and prompting, there's likely an area here where you can do some work to build some internal motivation to strengthen your child's heart on the inside. Now, this is more of these ideas are on our blog, thrivingkidsconnection.com. You can click around for different age groups there, different challenges that your child's experiencing. You might want to look at the one on electronics for teens, or dealing with the one on emotions for kids, or all kinds of articles that we've written, and there's an index just right on the right-hand side. That's at thrivingkidsconnection.com. Also, I just want you to know, if you're interested in our coaching program and you're wondering if that's the best thing for you, I'd be happy to do a free 15-minute consultation with you to listen to you and understand more about your situation, and then give you some advice that just the conversation might take you somewhere and will be beneficial for you, because you'll know what the map looks like for your child. But then you might want to get involved in the coaching program. We're working one-on-one with parents to help them as the best counselors for their children to make significant heart changes, patterns of changes in the lives of children. Well, I'm Scott Turansky. This is the National Center for Biblical Parenting. Check us out at our blog at thrivingkidsconnection.com. There are other benefits there. The blog is the free part. If you want to interact with us inside, then you have to pay the membership fee. But the outside part is available to you. Go and check it out. thrivingkidsconnection.com. Thanks a lot.